Task number 2, DNS remembering addresses. Do you remember the IP addresses of your favorite websites? Unless it is a private IP address of a local device, no one needs to worry about memorizing IP addresses. This is in part due to the domain name system, or DNS for short, which is responsible for properly mapping a domain name to the IP address. In other words, we have this IP this is just for example purposes. This is an IP, this is a URL address. DNS, what does this do? Well, you don't have to remember this number, you just have to remember example. Pretty simple, right? DNS operates at the application layer, that is layer 7 of the OSI model. DNS traffic uses UDP port 53 by default. So DNS traffic uses UDP port 53 by default, TCP port 53 as a default fallback. There are many types of DNS records, however in this task we will focus on the following 4. A record, CNAME, and an MX. It can be on the same port TCP or UDP because the transport layer only uses one at a time. So the four records, DNS records, are as follows. A record, the A from address record maps a host name to one or more IPv4 addresses. For example, you can set example.com to resolve the IP this one, right? So you don't have to remember this one. You just have example.com. A records. The A for a record is similar to the A record, but it is for IPv6. Remember that is for A or quad A, as a AA or AAA would refer to a battery size. Furthermore, AAA refers to authentication, authorization, and accounting. Neither falls under DNS. CNAME record. The CNAME, coming from canonical name, record maps a domain name to another domain name. For example, we have example.com can be mapped to example.com or even example.org. MX record, the MX mail exchange record specified the mail server responsible for handling mail for a domain. So you can see how all of this comes together from our networking rooms that we did from TryHackMe, right? Everything comes together. In other words, when you type example.com in your browser tries to resolve this domain name by querying the DNS server for the A record, IPv4 record. However, when you try to send an email to an email address, the mail server would query the DNS server to find the MX record. Depending what you have to do, everything is logical and pretty simple. If you want to look up the IP address of a domain from the command line, you can use a tool such as NSLOOKUP. Consider the example in the terminal below where we look up example.com. So it just uses the NSLOOKUP tool for the example.com. Here we can see the result of this, right? IPv4, the name of this, address, IP, and then again the name, non-authoritative. Actually, non-authoritative answers. And here we just have the simple address and port and address, server address. The query above led to 4 packets. In the terminal below, we can see that the first and the third packet sends DNS queries for the A and quad A records, respectively. The second and the fourth packet shown the DNS query responses. Yes, so using T-Shark, which is the command line of Wireshark, we send, we just check out the above information in T-Shark, which is the command line of Wireshark. So a standard query for A record quad A record, and then responses. Answer the questions below. Which DNS record type refers to IPv6? If we go over here and see the quad A is for IPv6. Which DNS record type refers to the email server? If you go over here, mail exchange record specify the mail server responsible for handling emails for a domain.